Well, here she is coming along. Just got the riverbed colors kind of painted in. I did a tan and a green mixture in here, did all that throughout, and then came back and added a dark brown and some more blue to that same mixture to make a little more of a deeper spot. And this is going to be a muddy river going through a jungle, which usually are quite dark. Did a little bit of a coloring on the plaster that we put the trees down, but we don't have to go crazy because I'm hoping that this mixture here that I'm going to put down will pretty much cover, and I think so. Plus with the grasses and all that and the flocking and all that, we'll do it too. And it looks quite green on the camera. But all this is here. There was a gentleman's channel there where he was talking about doing a jungle scene, and he was using chopped up bark that he put through a coffee grinder, and then some water and PVA glue, and then added some, paints to give it a little bit of a color. And he even went as far as like small fine roots and sticks and stuff he chopped up and put in there. I'm not going to go that far, because his jungle scene, it worked for, because it was a real dense jungle with vines and everything around like an old building. But yeah, I just used coffee grinds, water, PVA glue, and then I put a little bit of a honey brown that kind of already goes with everything that's already color-wise brown in there, and then some green, which we're seeing a lot of green on the camera. It's funny. It's got a hint to your eye, to your naked eye, but to the camera it looks really green. But that's okay. All this eventually, this is just a base. All this eventually is going to get covered with flocking and shrubs and trees and all kinds of other stuff. But this gives that good muddy basis of like a jungle topsoil, I guess you could say. But I just wanted to show you that. I'm going to go on and start spreading this around and let it set and see what it looks like tomorrow. Well, I started applying some of that mud mess coffee grind stuff, and I'm actually really liking what it's doing. Now we'll just see if it'll dry okay. But it's working out really good. I'm just taking, like I'm using old, acid brushes that you can just throw away. I might want to touch that up a little bit. But what I'm doing is I just dip it in there. Try to get rid of some of the excess, because I think I made it a little on the runny side. But that helps me spread it around a little better. We missed a spot right there. I'm sorry, I keep moving the camera because I'm trying to get the brush in there. But we can keep tweaking it, because as the water's kind of flowing out of the grinds, things are moving. But that'll be kind of cool, because it'll show some areas like that will start to fade through, and you can kind of see them in these little mud rocks areas will pop up through. I'm getting some kind of a dirt between these roots kind of showing through, so that's neat. It's working out really well like that. And again, I'm trying to do this with my phone and have a brush in my hand and do stuff. But yeah, I'm just dabbing it along. In these big areas, I'm using the big acid brush. And I'm really, so far, happy the way it's coming out. And it's a little on the green side, even to the eye now. But that's okay, because it's got a brown underneath, which would show the dirt. And then all this green can be the moss and everything else that would be, in a jungle-type soil. And then I'm hoping the coffee grinds gives it, more of that chunky dirt with like a lot of foliage that decayed, from the leaves and stuff. But so far, I am happy. So we'll keep trucking, and I might touch that little area up there a little more. But I know there was a lot of cracking of the plaster underneath there, so it's probably soaking down in there. But yeah, just like this little area here, I'm just dabbing it over. And you can go as heavy or as light as you want. I might, after this dries, see if we need to do another application. But so far, if I can try to move this container so I can get a little more on here. Show you what I'm doing. I'm just grabbing a scoop of it. Hopefully I don't make a mess. We'll do it right here. And just really just doing that. And dabbing it down in and just letting it spread. I don't want it to add like height or anything. That's what I did all the plaster for. To give different elevations. And like we did the cardboard here to give it like it's coming up a riverbank. But just, it's really actually pretty quick. Especially if you don't want it that thick. It's going on pretty quick. And you can scoop to get more coffee grinds than anything. And then you just gotta, when you first put them down, it might be like that. But if I'm just going like this works the best. Just hold your brush straight up. And it's really covering pretty good. So I'm really, if it dries as nice as it's looking so far, I'm very excited. And I really want to thank that guy, and I wish I knew his YouTube channel. Maybe I should look, see if I can find it in my history, and send a link to it, because he has some great ideas. Like I said, he was doing it looked like an old temple kind of thing, and he would go and collect a lot of sticks and roots that looked like vines, and it looked really good. But I thought this was a brilliant idea of just chopping up. He used bark, which works great, but I'm like, I'm a coffee drinker. And what does coffee grinds look like when you're done with them? You know, and usually you're just throwing them out. So I just kept collecting. When I emptied out my coffee maker, I just kept the old grinds. So these aren't fresh ones, they're used ones. That way I don't get too much of the coffee stain coming out of it. Now we might let that sit like that, because then it's showing like a little ridge of dirt, and that's kind of natural in nature. But yeah, it's like, I can keep these coffee grinds, just fill up one of those plastic containers that you get your coffee in. I have tons more than I need, but we'll see if this application gives it enough, or if I have to go with a little bit more. And that's okay too, because then I can even shove the color off a little bit. I really don't want too much on this riverbed. Some of it can be, because trying to stay a little clean there. We can get down to this line there. But I'm going to keep trucking. I just wanted to show you all how this is coming together, and I'm really, really liking it. And I think the green tint helps, and when it dries, we'll see how much the brown shows through. But I think it's going to show through pretty good, because like I said, in here, you can see some of the dirt around the roots, and that's normal, you know, or here, where there was a high spot, and all of it started kind of running them down, not sticking to it. I think that's going to be great. And then hopefully, my concern is, did I add enough glue to the mix? Is it going to become a solid thing once it dries? So we'll keep our fingers crossed and see what happens in 24 hours or so. Well, okay, here it is dry. So it didn't come out too bad. I'm liking it. It's going to be a good base for doing all the grasses and stuff before we start putting all the brush and trees and other trees down. And then I just started putting down some little bit of a sand along the river edges. So I'm liking how that came out, which all I do is take a little bit of PVA glue and just water it down. And just been dabbing it with a brush, along the edges there. And then what I'm using, where is it? Is right there, Daily Fiber. It acts so much like a sand, and it works great. Or if you want to give grit to a snow, platform that you're putting snow down, I mix that in a lot, and it gives it that more of that crystally, crunchy kind ofness in the snow instead of it being perfectly like smooth. You can just mix it in with like a paint that you're dabbing down or brushing down. Sometimes what I do is I'll brush down a white paint with the snow and then sprinkle that down and then airbrush white over top of it, and it works great. It gives you that little bit of a texture look, but it works especially good for sand because it has that kind of color. If you can see if I can get into an area where it's a little closer. Yeah, it kind of has that color and definitely has that texture that fits to scale. So, but I wanted to get that down before we start doing some of the grasses flocks here and stuff like that I have. This is a mixture of green and brown, which is going to work great, and then we'll poke some of the other just green stuff. But just want to show you where it is and how the mud coffee grind mix dried in, and I'm liking it so far. Well, we're getting some of the turf down. This side here is got all the coverage of the, what do they call this? This is the burnt grass fine turf. Even put a little bit up on the top there. But that's coming out pretty good. We just got to hit this section in here yet. And then I'm going to go over it with some of the medium grass in spots, which is more green, straight up green, to add green patches in areas. And then we're going to have shrubs and trees, but we're just slowly building up. Well, hello everybody, it's getting there. We got a lot of the different patches of flock now. We can get this to focus a little better. I don't know, in this lighting it might not. We got some vegetation pretty much. All the figures are glued down. There's Ahsoka and Mandalorian. But they are all glued down except for Quill, because I'm gonna wait for him back there. Once we start doing the river. But everybody else is glued down. And got their bases all hidden. I ground them to be as small as possible, but yet still give some of the guys some something to stand on. Especially like him running. If I didn't leave a little bit of a base, he'd only have that little footprint, a little foot of his, to try to glue down on this terrain. Would be fun. I'm trying out some of these little tropical bushes. They're actually just part tops of the pine trees. I'm using the smaller ones. Got a couple over here, and that's what I'm working on next. And then we're going to start attacking these trees. Put a little bit of moss in them. Especially since we had to do that for Yoda. Because his feet were they're so small that there was no way to get, that base had to be fairly decent size. But that works. But everybody's down. Like I said, I got all this thicker grass, I guess you could say, or little shrubs or whatever, in different colors. You can see that one's a little lighter than that one. that helps a lot. Didn't do too much of the other shade in this area because the walker's going to take up all that spot, so it's really redundant. Just tried to hit other areas. And then we'll probably do some bushes like that there. That's back in here. We'll probably do a couple of those around in spots too, and more of the tropical ones. But it's slowly coming. This pine tree's just chilling there. Right now it has that real plasticky look and almost like a silk PLA kind of sheen to it. So I'll just hit it with some flat. And my cat's trying to get on my lap. I'll hit it with some flat and bring it down a little bit. Get rid of that sheen. And then we'll experiment with the trunks to try to make them look a little better. But definitely hitting them with a flat, and then we'll probably end up spraying them a brown or something. As you can see, my cats, they're all interested in what's going on. There I have a couple tops that I'm going to use for shrubs. Already hit with a flat. These little ones work really good. Here's the tops of the bigger ones. I hit them with a flat coat, and then I sprinkle a little bit of the fine grass on them. It kind of helps bring color into them instead of them looking like plastic as much as they do. Tropical plants are so hard because you can't get it in a foam or, you know, a flock like that. And there's the stems. Like, because these trunks, as you can see here, they're just not. They're too shiny, and the coloring of them isn't right. And I got more different ones in here that have more of the, not the queen palm, but more of the, I forget what that species is called. That leaves those really rough bark things that you have to scrape off the tree so they are smooth. And then I leave a bundle up top. But yeah, I went and looked at pictures, and, you know, living in Florida for a while. Excuse me, Jack. There's Jack Kitty. Get a cameo, Jack. Get a cameo. They're usually more on a gray because the sun and the rain fades them into that gray. They start off as a tan and they fade. So I did a light gray with a little bit of tan in it. And then I came back with a brown wash to kind of pull them a little more into the tan, so they don't look crazy gray against, you know, the brown trees. And then we'll start putting tops on them. But that is where we are at. I've been so busy with yard work and gardens and renovated my kitchen. Put the new floor in, ripped the old floor up, put the new floor in, painting, now that we're finally getting some good weather. So I haven't been getting as much time in here, and then just family things going on too. Well, I got this palm tree up and glued in. He's a little wobbly on his little peg. And I got a little brush, a little shrub down there next to him too. We'll get another one in here, but these are what those look like. And what I'm doing is I'm painting, hitting all these while they're like this with a flat, and then sprinkling a little bit of this, like the grass, burnt grass kind of stuff on it. It helps it out a lot. I got a whole bunch. Let me turn the camera over here. I got a whole bunch here ready to spray. Those over there are already done. But there we go. This might be a better view than the last short little clip, because I got it underneath my work light. Let me check, do I have my hole? Okay, so I already have a hole pre-drilled in, and she's going to go down in here. Hopefully it won't interfere too much with those. But I wanted to get a couple of these on here so I can do the little shrubs and do all the low stuff before I get up here, because you start having to reach around things and you can hit all that stuff. So I'm kind of starting low and building up. But he can go there. He looks good. We're going to have to trim him because he's bottoming out. So about a good nip right there. And that'll work. Alright, a little super glue. Try to blow out some of the white powder from the base. I'm going to kind of get quite a bit on. Also trying to pick a way I like. I can even spin the tops. So let's really concentrate on the trunk. What looks good. I'm going to go with that. And I can just take this. That's kind of why I want to leave those loose, so I can spin those the way I want. Even the little shrubs, I'm still putting on these little stubs and cutting them. That way it has the stem to put it down, because they're so springy with all the leaves bending down that you can't get the... Let's see, I'm trying to hold this and talk at the same time. You see how it's like you only have that little nub to try to... Like this one's not too bad. I could sit it down on something flat, and it's actually, that centerpiece here is actually hitting. But some of these smaller ones or some other ones just aren't doing it. So if I put them in glue and cut the stem to where it's just at the bottoms of the leaves, or sometimes a little bigger, because sometimes the ground terrain is a little lower where it's wanting to sit. And that's basically it. And we do have some little flexible bottom, you know, the peg that's actually going in there is a little flexible, so we're going to have a little wobbling movement. That's basically it. I'm going to keep tripping on. Here's the different breed of pine tree. I forget what these are called. And then we got this other species. I don't know what this one is, or if it's just a smaller, probably maybe supposed to be a smaller version of that. I don't know. And I'm sorry if I'm off camera, because I'm using my phone and I can't really see. But so we'll have to paint them up. This part's easy. We'll hit it flat like we're doing with all the rest, but I'll have to see how I want to do this. I don't think hitting that with a flat's going to make it look right. It's still going to look plasticky. That's why I'm glad I painted those, because it helps. And we might do the same thing. I'll do that tan and gray in a wash. That'll probably work fine. These here are usually a little bit on the darker side, and I would like to have something a little more on the darker side, so maybe I'll use a little more brown with a gray. A touch of gray. And hopefully we can get rid of some of the satin, or the flat will get rid of some of that sheen. It almost has like a metallic in it. We don't want that. If not, I'll spray them. But a lot of times you can just hit them with a flat, and that brings them a little better in. And I like that they do have different shades of green. You got a light green, a dark green, and like a medium. And the smaller they get, the more lighter they get, which would be kind of natural too, because they're younger leaves. yeah, she's pretty much there. So it's exciting. It's getting there. I don't mind it leaning a little bit off to the side. It's really not doing that too bad. Because once this has all foliage around it, it's going to look better. And then we're going to put little trees around. I got, what I have here already pre-set up, but we might go more. We'll see. I figured I'd start off with that and take it from there. But yeah, with all these other little trees, we're probably going to put a couple up in the front here. Even though this is really supposed to be a cross-section of a mountain, because a mountain to be like this, or a hill, would be kind of funny, especially with a chopped off edge, but it's supposed to kind of be a cross-section, but it won't hurt just to make it look cool to do all that stuff. But that's our update for where we're at. I'm going to keep trucking on here. The next time I film, I'll probably do a short thing on gluing the flock onto these, which is not really complicated. I'll use this nice project glue that I got when I ordered all the stuff for the grasses and everything. I ordered it from one place and they had a nice project glue. And this is good because it's water soluble. It adheres to anything. It's made for this stuff. And that's this here. But I like how it has a little more thickness than normal PVA glue. So if you want to put a shrub down, it'll stay there. And then it dries completely clear. I did a couple of these small pieces, these chunkier grasses with it just to try. And it worked really good. But it would just take so long. It's so much easier to just mix up a glue, which I actually use Tight Bond, because Tight Bond actually, because I only have so much of that project glue, I actually use the Tight Bond because it cleans up the water, so it's water soluble, and acts pretty much like a PVA glue. And really all the, and it dries clear. So I've been using that, mixing it with water, and then taking one of my acid brushes and dabbing around, or if I want some smaller areas, I've been using this brush. But until next update, I'll talk to you soon.